Well, I didn't know more people were coming in, so I was like, I'll just squish in with Barry. But this phone's gonna.
Okay, Amy, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear us all right? Perfect. Excellent. I think we are all set and the recording is live. I just had my audio muted.
Oh, okay, that's going now.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, folks. A quick disclaimer about the video recording. This disclaimer is to inform all participants that this meeting conducted in person via Zoom will be recorded for record-keeping purposes. By participating in the meeting, you consent that the recording may contain, one, your video stream, including images of yourself, and two, your audio stream. This includes any opinions you contribute. Anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not. By staying in the meeting, you consent to being recorded. By consenting and attending the meetings virtually or in person, participants also agree to recordings being posted to YouTube or other distribution services. Also further like to acknowledge the First Peoples and Traditional Territory. Armour Township is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe. Armour Township recognizes the historical and contemporary contributions of the local First Nations and the peoples of Turtle Island. First up, we have set of minutes from our last meeting. Council of Township of Armour approves the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 27th, 2026 as circulated. Got Jerry and Dorothy. Any errors, omissions, edits? All those in favor? That's carried. We're off to the races. Does anyone have any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof based on the agenda? We do have accounts tonight. Okay, none noted. Matt, I see you're online there. We're probably, from an agenda point of view, we're going to just move you up one from number 7 to number 6, only because we were expecting that number 6 is going to be a lengthy conversation. So we won't make you wait through it. So we're just move you up one item. We'll let you know when we're ready to go. Okay, we have 5 delegations today. And first up is Amy. Amy has 2 reports, the Waste Management Administrator report and the CEMC Emergency Management Code Red report. So Amy, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I think I can keep my stuff fairly short in consideration of 5 delegations. The reports are in front of you. I'm sure you've had time to read them. Any questions or comments with regards to the job descriptions? What is going on there is, as you will note, both are somewhat old and needed revisions with regard to our new systems. So what I have in front of you is the lead hand update and the attendant. That lead hand position, as it's written now, would eventually start to become the My Succession Plan, which is a long ways away. Sorry to burst your bubbles, but but if there's any questions or comments with regard to the job descriptions in front of you there.
Questions from council? Okay, I think we're good on that one, Amy.
And then the Code Red notification, our renewal comes up in the end of this month. So I'm trying to get ahead of that. And I would like to see us step away from Code Red and look at some other systems with regard to this whole data breach that occurred last fall. And again, all the information is in the report. So any questions or comments from council?
I'm okay with that. It makes sense. Do we know, Amy, if there's any Canadian companies that do this, or are they all US based?
Mostly US based. I thought we found a Canadian company, but it turns out they're American. The mother company is American. They are Canadian based, but
is that something Armour is prepared to take on? We'll just create it.
There we go.
Like to grow.
It'd be nice if we could do just a bit more of a search for Canadian, because the problem we'll have with, even if it's the data's here in Canada, the problem's going to be because they're US based, they still have, the American companies still have access to it through their own legislation. It used to be called the Patriot Act, but it's not anymore. It's cloud or something.
Right.
So just because it's information about our constituents. That's the one thing I'd be concerned about, is making sure that it's a Canadian-based company, if possible, if it's available.
Well, the one that the fire chief is looking at is American and it's got Canadian storage, but I will take that point away with me and look further. But I think we're all in agreement that Code Red should finally, like,
Time to
it's
move on.
gotta, I think we're done with it.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got a
The
couple of
worst part is I can't even bring you stats because all of the data and information is gone. I can't even tell you how many messages were sent. I can only, from the experience of sending messages, I know how many were delivered, but I don't know exactly how many messages we sent over the course of 9 years.
Is that right? Okay. So we have two resolutions, one based on the positions that you were talking about, Amy, and one based on the Code Red. So I'll read through both of those. Council Township of Armour approved the revised landfill employee job descriptions for the lead hand and the landfill recycling attendant positions per the recommendations of the waste management administrator. Get a mover. And Jerry. Any other questions on this one?
I think I did have one. Just, I can't find it now. And it said something to the effect of, minimum of 2 years experience, but requires 3 to 6 months working in the position to learn it.
Yes?
So do we want,
So those parts of the job descriptions, I do not alter those.
okay,
They are based on what the Employment Review Committee puts in there. I don't see them changing based on the changes to the descriptions. We just removed redundant tasks that were no longer there. The education and experience is all the same. So
so
when we get to pay equity this year, they can be reviewed then. But that's the way it's been since 2016, 2014 for that one.
it just would seem to me that you would have 3 to 6 months if you had done it for 2 years.
It's a different, so you're coming from waste, but you're coming into our system. So we're saying it takes 3 to 6 months to learn our system. with
Okay, so
2 years
even if you have 2 years experience outside of our organization.
Yeah, you wouldn't have 2
6 months.
years experience and be receiving a job. Well, technically, the lead hand usually does come from within, so they're already experienced with the systems, so.
What to do with your pay scale.
Okay,
You'll have 3 to 6 months to achieve maximum.
these are one of those things where I trust.
When do you be able to explain
Thank
all
you,
that?
yeah.
Okay, any other questions about the landfill positions? All those in favor? That's carried, Amy.
Thank you.
And the second one, Code Red. Let's put that in. Whereas the Township of Armour currently utilizes the Crisis 24 Code Red emergency notification system at an annual renewal cost of $2,452 with data stored outside of Canada. And whereas staff have reviewed alternative emergency notification and data management systems that may better align with operational needs, data storage preferences, long-term service delivery. And whereas council wishes to discontinue the use of Code Red pending further review and recommendations regarding future emergency notification solutions, therefore be it resolved that council hereby directs staff to discontinue and not renew the Crisis 24 Code Red emergency notification service upon expiry of the current agreement. Further be it resolved that staff continue to evaluate and report back to council on suitable alternatives for emergency notification services, including those integrated with fire department data management systems. I get a mover.
Sure.
You got Rod and I got Dorothy. Any other questions for Amy on this one? All those in favor? And that's carried as well, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Anything else for Amy before we let her go? Final words, Amy.
Have a lovely
Nope.
evening.
Thank you. Okay, now we're up to Mr. Creaser, Road Supervisor for the February 2026 report. It's item 5 in your agenda. David, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll follow Amy's lead and keep this short. Roads Department's been active and busy with all the snow. We've been moving snow recently along with plowing and ice blading. All of our plow trucks are operational and in good working order. So we are in good shape. We have a good reserve pile for sand that we've been working with all the weather events and the early start to the season. It's been hard on our materials. Absolutely. We did receive a couple loads of salt. One load went to our neighbor, Perry, and the other we've been using to mix with our sand. You'll see trucks moving up and down the road that are moving winter sand for other municipalities. So unlike most years, we see suppliers going into their pits in the winter and pulling out winter sand to supply to other municipalities. It's been a demanding year, but our service levels have not wavered. We do have reserve piles, which we're quite lucky to have, or it's been good planning in previous years, my goodness. So we are reaping the rewards. So we hope to continue that in the future, to always maintain a reserve pile so we are able to respond to all these events. But other than that, nothing too exciting on our end. Is there any questions or concerns?
I have a comment. I have a person that messages me every year to tell me how terrible the roads are. And this year I got a message saying, just wanted to let you know the roads are great. My road was plowed. I was like, this is incredible. I have to pass this along. So great job.
Thank you.
I've only had one phone call this year, and thank
was
you,
from me.
Dave, for taking care of 3 Mile Hill.
Absolutely. I appreciate you calling me and letting me know. We try to respond as best we can.
I always let you decide whether you have to do anything or not. I don't tell you what to do.
Well, if people are asking for it, they're probably asking for reasons. So.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the efforts, Dave. It's good work.
Thank you very much.
I saw the lineup at the Godrich mine on the news. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The number of trucks going in there, just unreal. And
Yeah,
thanks for the carry out as well.
yeah, that's quite. So I was talking to McNenna today about our dust control, and the suppliers are talking. They're not sure what if it affects the dust control, because calcium chloride is what's used. The salt is sodium chloride, but I see some municipalities have been discussing down south using maybe lower concentrations of calcium chloride in place of salt. So it may affect the supplies for that. So we're trying to get ahead of that as well.
And we'll just have to pave everything. We'll be okay.
I like that plan. Thank you.
How do you feel about that, Treasurer?
No comment.
You got a good quote.
Any other questions for Dave?
Calcium chloride's interesting.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Appreciate it. Stay safe on the roads.
Thank you. Good evening.
Right, you do.
Okay, so as mentioned earlier, we're gonna just flip 6 and 7 around. So Matt Fuller is online on Zoom, and so Matt's report is number 7 from Almeguin Data Inc. To do with the 520 Highway 520 industrial land. So Matt, over to you, and then we'll follow up with some questions. Or
Yep. Do you need me to share the presentation, or everyone has that in front of them there?
They have it in front of them. There's other folks in the room. So if you want to do a screen share, you're more than welcome to, or you could just speak to your presentation.
Yeah, I'll speak to it and then I can share. I mean, if anyone needs to. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Matthew Fuller. I'm founder of Almeguin Data, and I'm here today because I see lots of opportunity in your industrial lands to bring high value technology infrastructure to the Armour Township. And this is kind of a delegation to purchase those lands. Tonight isn't really, I guess, a planning meeting and getting in terms of formal applications. That's something I guess that would come later. Tonight is more about if council sees value in this investment and is willing to sell us land to move forward. So to kind of give you a project overview, what we're proposing here to start is a 2 megawatt sovereign AI compute facility. The ideal size that we're looking for is between 6 to 8 acres, with a total expansion to 10 megawatts in the future. Total investment for that first phase build out is between 15 and $20 million. And the number of the 10 megawatt could easily reach above $50 million, depending on the hardware and specs that go into the facility. Just kind of give everyone an idea of what AI compute infrastructure is it's the backbone that powers kind of, if you're familiar with the ChatGPTs or the Geminis or the large language model processing. It even runs, for example, I had a doctor's appointment the other week, and now doctors are now using AI note taking in their appointments, if anyone's familiar with that. So this is the backbone that the infrastructure that allows all that AI technology to take place. And the kind of the big missing gap, and I think even what you talked about with the code red earlier, is that there's not many Canadian providers of this infrastructure. A lot of the infrastructure is either in the United States or other countries where a lot of these investments have been building out, as I'm sure that you've heard about in the news. So I think there's large potential and there's large need in the Canadian marketplace to have this AI infrastructure in place, just because as our daily lives now are from, I think all facets of life are now becoming more intertwined with AI, from appointments to manufacturing to cars and kind of, as I said, touching all facets of that. So the more Canadian sovereignty that we can have over our data, the more that we can have it in Canada and owned by Canadian companies, I think is a major plus. And one of the key components that we see to having this in Armour Township is the climate advantage. These servers run really hot, so there's a lot of technology and HVAC systems that go into cooling this equipment. So if we can leverage the ambient outdoor temperature in a place like Armour, for example, that has all the infrastructure in place, based on our calculations, this is about 20% cheaper operating expenses compared to the GTA. So the colder that you can have the surrounding environment, the more environmentally friendly it is, and the more operational costs that you can bring down. That's why here now there's talk of trying to put data centers in space, for example, because it's so cold there. So I mean that's kind of a bit more far-flung, but kind of the colder region that you can get these data centers in, the better it is for them, because you're not fighting physics outside. So that's kind of where we see a large advantage of having us in Armour, and then along with all the infrastructure that you already have in place, from the fiber, the natural gas, and the hydro transmission lines that are near the park. So it kind of checked all our boxes in terms of needs, in terms of infrastructure that are currently at site. So that's kind of why I was really intrigued when I came across that the township was selling these lands. And as we move to the presentation here, kind of getting to more of the technical specifications, our initial approach is doing a modular design where these are prefabricated, purpose-built enclosures. So these are all factory tested, built in a factory before being deployed and shipped out. These come with fire suppression systems built into them. So dry gas suppression systems certified for AA technology. I know there's, I guess I'm newer to it, but obviously everyone here is obviously familiar with the BESS project and the lithium ion. So there's alternatives to having lithium ion batteries in here. And it's not like it's like a full 5 megawatt like BESS or anything like that. So there's alternatives in terms of nickel zinc or lead acid for the uninterruptible power supply for the server hardware. And this has advanced monitoring with automated emergency response. In terms of water usage, about 70 to 80% of the year, we don't need to use any water at all, because we can use dry cooling systems. This allows us to leverage as I said, the outdoor temperature to cool the servers. It's only when it gets hotter in the summer that we need to utilize water Essentially, it's like water transfer where we're spraying water into the liquid cooling to be able to cool the system down. And we would have a large buffer cistern on site, so we're not taking a large uptake of water every day to be below that 10,000 liters a day threshold. So I think getting now more into the community impact of employment. I know these are designated employment lands, and this is kind of, we're bringing exactly that is new designated employment into the township. So high quality year-round employment, professional technology positions paying between $75,000 to $150,000 annually. And these wouldn't be seasonal jobs or minimum wage positions. These are high paying careers that keep young professionals here in the region instead of moving to GTA, or even vice versa, bringing high paid professionals from the city up to Armour Township or the surrounding areas. In the phase one, we're looking at 4 full-time positions, network operations technicians, network engineers, facility management, and security. And then obviously during the construction, lots of temporary positions in terms of electricians, HVAC technicians, excavation, fabrication, welding, all that type of stuff. So I see it as a diverse mix that's bringing new high-paying jobs into the township compared to I would imagine that there is probably zero now technology-focused jobs in the township currently. So it's looking at bringing a new mix into the township and positioning Armour Township as a technology-focused and kind of providing the backbone to allow kind of spin-off things to pop up around here. So kind of creating a technology hub that allows other companies to kind of build off this and building a culture of being a kind of technology first location. So I think that in terms of employment emphasis, it's maybe not as many positions as you can imagine is in terms of like waveform, but these are higher paying positions and with a different mix of career backgrounds compared to the other current employment mix in the community. Do you want to kind of do questions as we go, or just handle questions at the end?
Any questions so far? You want to just go ahead, Jim.
Are you a brand new company, or do you have other companies that we could have a look at?
Yeah, so in the past, I work in land development and home building in the Huntsville area. So that's kind of my background is in land development. Previous to that, I was at a digital marketing company in KW. So it's kind of intertwining that KW tech with the land development range here in the Muskoka region. So we're doing land development and construction in Huntsville and surrounding areas for the past 5 to 6 years now. And then I said previous to that was in the tech base. So it's kind of in terms of land development, it's very similar to kind of subdivision in a way in terms of electrical planning, site plan, and kind of bringing all those pieces together. In terms of who we have working with us, we have qualified engineers who have worked on these data center projects in and around GTA and Southern Ontario, MCW engineers, if anyone's familiar with them. So we do have the technical expertise behind us as well, who have done a lot of these projects.
I was just wondering now, in order to you to be this company, are you just for collecting data and hanging on to it type deal, or
Yeah.
what are you about?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, what are you all about? Like you're just collecting data like iCloud type concept, or?
No, it's more data processing. So let's say you have raw data coming in. So for example, your the doctor's appointment where now they're doing AI note taking. So all that raw data of everything that's recorded, or even on Zoom, for example, you see like the AI note taking now. So all that raw data comes into the facility and then it gets processed out into the end product. So let's, for example, if you use ChatGPT and you say, hey, I have a question about X or Y, or build me this, or generate a picture of this. It's taking that component, bringing it into the system, it's computing all that, and then it's giving you an output from there. So it's not your kind of typical traditional data storage, it's more data processing. And there's kind of different layers involved in that in terms of kind of who the end customer is. So there's many different applications, but kind of think of it as a data processing function where raw data comes in and processed data comes out. Yep.
Right. It's a storage facility for the machines that process the data, correct?
Yeah. So storage. So it's all the infrastructure that enables those data processing server hardware. So if everyone's familiar with the company NVIDIA, for example, so this would store the NVIDIA chips where all the data
Yes.
comes into them. And it has the infrastructure behind it to be able to power those chips. The data comes in, and then kind of whatever output you're looking for. Let's say you're asking for an image or whatever else maybe that output is. Those chips process that data and then provide that output that you're asking for.
I'm sure we'll learn more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the reason that there's so much energy requirements and the heat and everything, Matt, it's just because of the speed with which these processors are operating, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely one component of it is that they're running so fast and they're compared to even 5 years ago or 10 years ago, like these chips are getting so much more dense and there's so much more power requirements for them that the infrastructure required to run these chips now is it's just the power requirements are getting more intense, the cooling requirements are getting more intense. So there's a huge engineering and build out required to be able to power them in terms of the infrastructure. So it's kind of it's an infrastructure build out to be able to power these servers and hardware.
When
So when you require the water, temperatures, the ambient temperatures are higher, is that, where are you accessing water? Drilled wells or?
Yeah, it'd be drilled wells. So we'd be looking to have a cistern, like a holding tank on site to be able to provide the buffer. So we're not drawing over 10,000 liters per day. And then that way there is called like a adiabatic cooling system where the water is then being sprayed on the coils, for example, to be cooling the liquid. So can imagine a hydronic system, like like the boilers a lot of people have in their home, and there's a closed loop. So those are loops, but it's actually kind of reverse. So that now you're cooling the chip. So those liquid pipes, or the pipes are going through the chip, and it's called liquid cooling. So then the water picks up heat as it goes through the chip. It comes out, and then you're trying to expel that heat into the environment. So when it's hot, you need to be able to get your temperature below where the server is. So using water to cool that in the summertime.
So then is there a discharge of water from the facility as well?
No, so it's evaporation. So it's just water evaporated into the environment.
Okay,
So yeah,
thank
it's
you.
very environmentally friendly. There's no wastewater in terms of the way that we're proposing it. And even if there is minimal wastewater, it's just clean water that would be going back into the ground. So there's no chemicals or anything like that. So it's just kind of water circulation.
Thank you.
other questions? And so as Hydro One indicate, you mentioned the phase one to phase two, it's a pretty big jump from 2 megawatts to 10. So that's a pretty big draw. So what's has there been feedback from Hydro One at this point, or is this part of your project as you've got work to do with Hydro One as well?
Yeah, so I've had an initial conversation with them. I don't think it would go maybe from 2 to 10 right away. I'm kind of maybe thinking more increments, maybe like 2, 5, 7, 10, for example. Initial conversation around the 2 megawatt mark. They didn't seem to have any issue in terms of capacity regarding that. There's still a connection impact assessment study that needs to be done, but there's large fees involved in that. So I don't want to get too far down that line in terms of engineering, and then the state council says they don't want to sell the land, for example. So I need to kind of maneuver everything in the correct direction before, I guess, spending money on those studies, for example. So I've had the preliminary conversations with them, and based on their regional account managers' feedback that there's excess capacity here, and he didn't see any concerns in terms of initial 2 megawatt build out. I know there was some talk about the 5 megawatt substation in the industrial park as well. The research I've done so far and with the engineers, there seems a lot of excess capacity here in the central northern Ontario region, just because of the obviously the lack of not lack of, but less homes compared to the GTA. And that's another reason that we find this area suitable is in the GTA now, due to the grid where they are, they're not allowing a lot of these data centers now to connect in those regions because it's causing such a strain on that grid system there in terms of Toronto Hydro, for example. That's a kind of reason that you're starting to see these push more north.
Other questions? Actually, the last one, Matt, do you have companies that have approached you about about actually purchasing these kinds of services? Are you that far down as far as your business plan goes?
Yep. So I've talked to a lot of companies out of the call them tech incubators because they're larger than an incubator. But if you're familiar with like the Communitech or Tech Toronto group, so a lot of those preliminary conversations and a lot of these companies are using AI infrastructure. A lot of them are using AWS, for example. So a lot of American data centers. So there's a large push now for sovereign Canadian data, and based on our models that we can offer it substantially cheaper than like large players in terms of AWS and different. And there's also the revenue generation model in terms of co-location. So that's where we kind of provide the infrastructure and other data center companies kind of use our infrastructure to then provide to their customers. So there's a dual pronged approach in terms of revenue generation here that we see.
Yeah. Other questions? Is there anything else, Matt, that you wanted to cover off before we read the resolution?
Yeah, I think maybe just I know there's the I think just talking about the difference between the best systems. I know that was a large file for you in the township. So just kind of going on maybe on fire safety and fire suppression. I think everyone talk on that, and then maybe land use compatibility as well. I think there's just those two things are important discussion or topic points as well. So for fire safety, from research, like data centers are among some of the safest industrial facilities there are in terms of manufacturing or chemical processing or kind of any manufacturing facility. So the 0.02% annual fire incident rate in modern data centers. So it's very low. Doesn't say that it's zero, but compared to other manufacturing facilities, it is one of the lowest. I think two reasons for that. There's advanced early detection. So these very early smoke detection apparatuses. So it's like, I don't know, it's like a fire detector, but it can detect it maybe 100 or 1,000 times faster than your regular fire detector in your home, just because there's such valuable equipment inside these facilities that they need to put out the fire immediately before there's any damage. And they use clean agent gas suppression. So it's like a dry fire system that second that advanced early detection goes off, then those systems extinguish fire in seconds without any water damage. So fact is that the fire incident rate is very low, but even if there is a fire, the systems in place to protect that equipment are there. So even I know there's still have to be like fire training and everything like that, but compared to your typical, as I said, manufacturing facility, our fire incidence rates are a lot lower. So I know that would be a large concern maybe we get into planning in terms of studies and something that's come up with the past, but just kind of want to kind of show the differentiation between this and a typical BESS system, and especially if we remove the lithium-ion batteries from the UPS systems in here. Any questions regarding that?
Questions? I think it's important to know that this is not a BESS system, right?
No,
like this is not a battery operated environment. This is a data center.
Yeah, I just know some people may want to kind of draw those same conclusions or similarities because there is like battery backup systems there, but it's not like it's like a full just battery container with a huge 5 megawatt battery in there, for example, that's lithium ion. So just in terms of council to understand that this is a completely different project and completely different scope than what was previously presented. But I know I was speaking with Charlene, Dave, and Rod that just want to make sure that a differentiation is in place in front of mind because that was such a recent and I guess ongoing thing with the township.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, just the last one here that I wanted to touch on was the land use compatibility. So obviously making sure that we're a good compatible neighbor with the surrounding areas. And kind of as you see in the presentation there, we share the same concerns as residential. They want protection from dust, odors, chemicals, vibrations. And we kind of want the same protection as well in terms of having, call it class 3 or class 2 facilities beside us. That's the class 2 or class 3 based on the MOE D6 guidelines. Not to say that it would be a deal breaker for us, for example, but it just costs more cost and maintenance to have those type of facilities beside us. And having a data center, I think, is one of the least kind of intrusive and areas for residential concerns. There's not much traffic. There's no odors, there's no smells. And I know there's been some concerns about noise, but based on our studies in terms of positioning our coolers towards the back of the land, that would be quieter than highway traffic, for example. And we can even probably get quieter than that in terms of building berms and other noise mitigation factors. So I'm sure that would be probably one of the studies that would be required to be acoustic studies. But I'm not too concerned based on the setbacks for the noise generating equipment that we'd have on site. So we're low noise, low intrusive, low traffic neighbor compared to maybe a warehouse that has trucks coming in and out every day. So I imagine that we would be compatible with the surrounding uses. We're not going to have negative environmental impacts, and we're not going to be producing dust or chemicals, for example. So I feel like it would be a good fit for the nearby residents and even the adjacent solar farm there, as I said in the study, because we want to make sure that we're compatible with all the land uses around us. Where if there was a dust producing facility, and then you're going to get complaints from the neighbors, and then even the owner of the solar farm there, because it's going to be impacting their equipment there. So I think it's a good choice for the location where it is because it's light industrial, and we're not a large polluter or anything like that. So I think those are just the two main things I want to talk on, and kind of keep everything open to questions here at the end.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Just so is there battery storage on location?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Okay.
But the battery storage is only enough battery storage to operate in the event that the power is out. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So it doesn't run all the time. It runs just for the server and the hardware. So it's not the full load. And as I said, we can, it would have to be lithium ion. So it can be nickel, zinc, or lead acid. So those batteries don't have the same thermal runway as what a lithium ion battery would have. So still be batteries on site specifically for the servers and hardware. And they only run for about maybe 10 to 15 seconds before the backup generators kick in.
Basically, it is the same as what we had.
No, it's a completely different type of battery.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
The environmental impact, please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not an engineer, but the environmental impact from this type of battery is far less invasive than the environmental impact from the lithium, correct?
okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And if I may, if you go into my office and take a look under the desk, you'll see a little black box that when the power goes out, that turns on to allow me to save my equipment or save my files before the generator kicks in or whatever the case. So it provides continuity to the computers that are running. And that's
I understand,
but a little bigger.
And
all big electronic places have their battery backup.
That's right. That's all that is.
Yeah. Okay.
fire suppression system is not only like internal for your equipment, is it also for the battery storage?
Yeah, so the battery storage is within the facility itself as well. So it's for
Okay.
the whole facility. So say the battery were to catch fire, for example, that whole fire suppression system would put out the battery fire. So yeah, just unlike nickel zinc batteries, they're non-toxic, non-flammable, and they don't run the risk of thermal runaway. So that's kind of maybe the new technology here in terms of nickel zinc, or you can have your older technology in terms of lead acid. Obviously, those aren't as powerful, and that's why they're not used for BESS, because they don't have the same, I guess, energy storage or um, cost as well, and value. So, but yeah, nickel zinc is non-flammable and non-toxic. So it's not, you're not looking at the same risk of thermal runaway as you would be with lithium ion.
So I have one question regarding the economic impact. So on slide 2,
Yep.
it says annually $50,000 to $70,000 to property taxes.
Yeah.
Then further in, it says, let me find it. I'm so sorry. Later on, it says economic benefits to Armour Township, 5 to 7 million for phase 1 investment. But it says the property tax revenue would be 20 to 40,000 to the township.
Yes, maybe I had those in different phases. Probably is probably just a miscalculation there, but it's just kind of hard to know, I guess, until MPAC assesses the facility. I was just using rough estimations for the different phases in terms of, because obviously the equipment's not going to be classified as property, for example, but I can run through those calculations and kind of send you my math for how I was trying to calculate those for the different phases in terms of as we improve the build out. But I do see it as going to be a large assessment in terms of the infrastructure that's going to be in play in terms of all the engineering and site build out that will be required for it.
Yeah, both do say phase 1, and it's a $50,000 a year difference.
Yeah, I just said after this I can send you the math.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
To that, yeah.
So do we have any comments from either our planner or anyone for council to consider?
So we had an opportunity to meet with Matt and his planner, as well as Charlene and Planscape. We went through some preliminary questions about zoning, land use compatibility. I think correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, but the position with yourself and Melissa was that this would generally classify as an M according to their assessment of things. However, given the specialized nature, I think that there were some more questions that Planscape had, but inevitably where we got to was there's not a whole lot of point in looking at the studies and plans that would be required to facilitate this if council, ultimately moving forward will depend on council's decision to support and proceed with investigating the sale. And just as a brief background on the land itself, it is still currently sitting in the zoning that it has been, so it will still need to be rezoned. If we go back to previous studies, there was some recommendations to blanket zone that property, which hasn't happened. I believe council's rationale, and this was before my day in this role, but in my day in the economic development side, was to not limit the potential uses of that property prior to having an anchor tenant or significant interest in the property. So if council views this as significant interest, then we would look at that, whether we want to apply a zoning across the entire property prior to severing, or what that process. There's still some considerations for that process. And Charlene, I don't know if you wanted to provide any comment, or if there's anything that I missed there. Well, she might have stepped away from her computer. So
how much property is this company interested in?
6 to 8 acres.
And the total is 20 acres?
19.48 roughly. We figure usable before you get into the south side of the lot, where it contours a bit, roughly around 12, depending on, I think if you start moving the earth around towards the back of the property, you'll need some time to settle.
Yeah. Would it be a consideration to purchase all 20 acres, or do we need them to utilize every acre they buy?
So we had the property marketed in 2-acre increments. That can be adjusted as well. I think in terms of his phase 2 and phase 3, that would be where the need for 6 to 8 acres would come in. There were some discussions about that originally. But I think to the point, again, if council sees interest in this, or sees the value, the ability to bring in either similar companies or other companies that create jobs, is something worth considering.
So the 6 to 8 acres is their total requirement at full build out, is that correct?
Correct, yes. I mean, let's say in 3 to 4 years and there's still additional land that's available there. I mean, it's something we can look at in terms of purchasing. But in terms of our full build out that we've scoped right now, yeah, the 68 acres is what we would require. But I mean, if there's room for expansion in the future and the land is still available, it's something that we could look at then. But I think it kind of leaves the door open for both Township of Armour in terms of other tenants that maybe come in there, and then maybe ourselves in the future if we look at needing to expand the footprint from what we have. But based on our site plan and equipment, 68 acres would be more than plenty for our full build out currently.
Yes, Matt, going back to the noise,
Yeah.
this noise would be contained within a building? Or is this external noise you're talking about?
Yeah, so there's two different ways to look at it. Some of these dry coolers do come in enclosures, so that you can put them in an enclosure to mitigate the noise. But a lot of this noise would be external. But as I said, there's lots of noise mitigation factors that we can put into place. And obviously run an acoustical study on this, but based on initial calculations and feedback, it would be below kind of the noise of highway traffic with the position and noise mitigation factors that we can put in. So I do.
Sorry, Matt. My concern now is it's 68 acres and we have another, say, roughly 10 acres or more.
Mm.
And if there's a lot of noise from this project, and that would take away from somebody else purchasing the other 10 acres or so. And we would need everybody to be able to get along, and workers that are exposed to certain levels of noise have to be protected also. So just things that should be looked at.
Yeah, and I think something we can run through the acoustical study as mentioned. I don't think it would be much louder than typical facilities, and a lot of these times these coolers aren't running at full speed either because of the cooling outside. So as I said, it would have to get into the acoustical study to get the final decibel level in terms of what these equipment would produce.
Is there somewhere out there now where we could look at that?
I'm just trying to think in terms of a rural. I mean, obviously, there's some in the city, and they're like large facilities, like the data warehouses that you see in the GTA. And then I have a lot of these more out west in Alberta, and kind of like northern Midwestern US is kind of where you'd find the most typical example. They had a few in the North Bay area, but that was more in terms of the Bitcoin and crypto mining. So that was a bit of a different facility setup. But that is a similar approach in terms of what they had in North Bay. The company there was called Hut 8, if anyone is familiar with them. They had a legacy in Bitcoin mining, and then I think they built their own gas power plant there. So as I said, similar, but not quite the same.
Charlene, I see you're off mute. I wasn't sure if you had any comments you wanted to follow on with this.
Just the only thing that's missing from Matt's report is the official plan amendment requirement that was discussed during our pre-consultation meeting. I did speak to rezoning, but Planscape did indicate that an official plan amendment would be required as well. And
I don't think that was still something that we still have to talk about. I don't think official plan amendment was required as of yet.
Yeah.
It was a zoning bylaw amendment. It wasn't an official plan as of yet.
To be discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do have a resolution for this. And we can decide to move forward or reject or table, depending if we feel we need more information. So, whereas Amagwin Data Inc. has proposed an AI infrastructure project to be located on municipal lands known as Highway 520 Industrial Concession 8, Part Lot 1, Registered Plan 42R-12212, Part 3 in the Township of Armour. And whereas the subject lands are municipally owned and will require a severance prior to any transfer or development. And whereas Township Council has reviewed the proposed development concept and wishes to indicate support in principle, subject to appropriate municipal planning and legal requirements being satisfied. Now, therefore be it resolved, the Council Township of Armour hereby supports in principle the proposed AI infrastructure project by Almegwin Data Inc. on the municipal property known as Highway 520 Industrial Park. Concession 8, Part Lot 1, Registered Plan 42R-12212, Part 3. And further that this support is conditional upon the successful completion and approval of a severance for the subject lands in compliance with all applicable municipal, provincial, and federal requirements. And further that the support is subject to the conditions, requirements, and recommendations as set up by the municipal planner, municipal solicitor, township staff, satisfaction of the Township of Armour. And further that nothing in this resolution shall be construed as approval of any specific planning application, development agreement, or land disposition, which shall be subject to separate council consideration and approval. Mover to get it on the table.
Sure.
Rod. Seconder.
I'll second it, and I would like to have 2 weeks to learn a little bit more.
Like the table it, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If everybody's in agreement.
I'd like to see some reports from our internal, like our planner, even economic development, like just to give us a more fulsome idea of this. Because I'm assuming that if council were to approve this, that Matt would carry on with either, moving forward with the severance and the purchase of the property. So I think council needs to make sure we're committed, and I'm not sure I have enough information at this point in time.
Okay. Sounds like you feel the same way, Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just a couple more questions.
Okay.
I want to learn a little bit more. It's a big decision to make.
We table this until the next council meeting?
That's fine.
Okay. All in agreement?
So just to be clear in terms of what council would like to see for the next meeting, you would like to see reports from our municipal planner, so from Planscape, with regard to their view of this and their initial assessment.
Yes. And the comment that was made about the noise, the 50 to 70 I can't relate that to anything. So I'd like some kind of expert to indicate what that actually means in a practical sense.
Yeah, so highway traffic produces approximately 70 decibels. Background music in a restaurant is about 60 decibels. So we're kind of within that same range between background music to highway traffic.
So we will table until February 24th. Okay, appreciate all the information, Matt.
Yeah.
And so we'll be talking about it again at our next council meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay, is there anything you need from me then?
Probably.
Yeah, so
But we're not sure what that'll be yet, so.
There's a few of us here kind of gathering some notes and some information, Matt, on the discussion that we've had this evening. So I know that we will be reaching out to Planscape just to get some comment, because there seemed to be some confusion there between your interpretation of the conversation and Charlene. So we'll clarify that just to make sure we're not leaving anything unturned. And then as far as any other tech information that you feel based on this conversation might be worthwhile bringing forward, we can look at that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice night.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we're back to number 6. So Allison, and we have Melissa here speaking for Danica, I guess, as well, if anything comes up.
Yes, if you have any questions, that's good. It's my ability.
So these are the reports, the report that was done on the annual Heritage Festival coming up in July. And we actually have 4 different options, which by the time we're finished talking may expand into 6 different options, who knows? So maybe Allison, over to you for just some background.
Well, you have your report
Yeah.
with all the history and everything. So just going through the budget this year, everything's gone up. There's a lot of high costs. So I was trying to figure out what we could adjust to lower it. And Heritage Day has been a topic in the past. It's a high budget for a festival. So I didn't know if council I wanted to bring it forward to see what council's thoughts are on it. It was brought up and discussed at our Katrine Community Center meeting at the beginning of February, or I guess it was the end of January, at that meeting to see how council would like to see the festival. Do they want to continue it at the budget that we have? Do we want to revamp it? Do we want to cut part of the budget? Do you want to partner with other events in Berks Falls? Do we want to move it back to Armour Township? There's a lot of variables. Yeah.
I think one of the considerations too is that it's changed, the organizers have changed over the last 2 years. So the total estimate does not include wages.
No.
So
No, that is just the budget for
That's just the budget for
the event itself. It doesn't include all the staff time that's put into
Just-
running it. Yeah.
Yeah, planning it and running it, because
Yes.
it ends up eating up a lot of bandwidth for a significant amount of time as we organize the firefighter challenge or the car show or collecting prizes. And I know that was recently transferred over to recreation staff for last year. Fantastic job. But the overall dollar amount that you see in the budget does not include other municipal investments.
We haven't sunk anything into it yet this, like, as far as
Not yet this year.
reserving things.
No, so it came up because it was going to be, they're going to start to plan it in March. So the topic kind of came up at the last meeting as to start to plan what to do. And then the question was raised, does council want to continue to spend this amount of money?
I think it would be wonderful if we could get it back to Watt Farm, but the issue was that we outgrew it.
Mhm.
So are there some parts of the event that could be reduced, like taken out, so that
Yeah, the problem with the Watt Farm is there's no parking. So we lost the
There's
field.
literally no room. Next place is sold now, so that's all, that's
We
fine.
don't have the parking at the field across the street anymore because
okay,
Even to serve hot dogs, there's not enough room for parking.
okay. So we get moving it back to the Watt Farm is not a consideration.
During the site visit that Mayor Ward and I had with the members of the Facilities and Functions Committee with the Historical Society, the question came up of would Northland Power consider making their part of their land accessible? Because if you look right next door, there's a big flat area where equipment is stored. So could that be made available as a community partner for parking, keeping people on the same side of the road? If you remember when it was out at the Watt Farm, it was a little bit chaotic in terms of thankfully we had Frank Ridsdale to make sure that he was keeping cars in line. But is there an opportunity there to keep cars and parking on that side? It's hard to say. That's contingent on whether Northland would entertain that or have their maintenance person provide access to it.
That idea makes me a little bit nervous too, just for liabilities.
And the liability there, I don't think Northland would open that gate up. You can't even go there if the gate's open, somebody's there, so you have to be authorized.
So
That's not gonna happen.
So, I mean, the first question is where it's held today and the size of it. It's a 4-hour event and it's $26,000. How comfortable are we having that kind of money?
well, it's 26,000 before the investment.
For
Yeah.
But like paying, yeah. So it's significant. There's weeks of work that go into it, right?
yes.
It could be scaled down and it could be held at the KCC. You know, you do have a field,
Yeah, it's enough room for some stuff there.
you know, if you wanted some bouncies, car show, you're probably got enough field for that. If you want to do car show or not.
I don't
I don't know that you would do bounces and
Septic is an issue at the KCC. Sorry, not to.
and the arena. Sorry, like the rink.
No parking cars.
I don't know how you'd get the cars in past the rink into the way.
Just looking at the field
You can?
that's there versus what was used,
Oh, yeah.
you would have to limit it, and you wouldn't get the same amount of cars that you had at the fairgrounds. Like it'd be limited that way. I like the idea. It's like each community has their own little. I mean, Charlene has taken it well beyond what I ever would have thought as a Heritage Day. I mean, we blossomed from walk through the museum to we really have multiple aspects of the whole thing. We have a car show, we have vendors, we have the firefighters challenge. Like there's quite a bit packed in. My only qualms of the location is we all know my concern. It works good. There's no doubt in my mind it should be scaled back to something a little bit more of like I said, we've got vendors, car show, and the firefighters challenge. I think the firefighters, like we draw, I think, from three different crowds. You have people come for the firefighters, you have people come for the cars. They don't give a rat's toot about the firefighters. And the vendors, they just want to be there. They don't care what's going on, right?
Well, and the bouncies and the food are a draw for families. I wonder if we couldn't look at having the firefighter challenge removed from Heritage Day and have it take place at our new fire hall. Like if that could be an annual firefighter challenge, it could even, the location could move between our 5 shared services. So the firefighter challenge could be like, I mean, Perry is a large property. The new Burks Mills Ryerson Armour is a large property. Like that one's is not, but anyway, we could probably
Building a new.
I think so.
Yeah.
So like that could be, if we removed that from Heritage Day, then we remove, that's a big chunk of space that's required, right? Could we, and then the community center probably would work.
And if it was a different date, then the firefighters aren't in 30-degree heat, because that's a problem.
So it's my understanding as well that there have been some conversations with fire departments who have kind of a waning interest, A, for the heat factor, B, for, they're all mutual aid fire departments. So pitting them against each other, there was kind of I guess a gentleman's agreement, if you'd say that, or a gentle person's agreement to keep it for the new recruits for training purposes and actually use it as a training day, which I think all went out the window when a particular fire department brought the A game and swept the field. So there has been some conversation. I guess the end point of that is, it didn't seem to me like they'd be ultra offended if it was no longer part of Heritage Day. Shar, I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on any more of that, not to keep putting you on the spotlight here, but
I think while we're waiting for Shar, I think if we could, like Fire Prevention Week, if we could have the firefighters take care of their own kind of firefighter challenge, but it can be its own.
Oh, we got you, Shar. There you go.
Yeah. I think the people that I've spoken to are aware of how I feel about it. There's been a lot of time invested in it. I'm proud of what Heritage Festival has become, but keeping in mind that the Historical Society always wanted to keep Heritage Day as their event. They changed it to Heritage Festival when it moved within the village, thinking that if it was ever scaled back, they could still host an event at the farmhouse back to the cake cutting ceremonies or whatever with the Heritage Day title. It boils down to staff time and volunteers. It's a lot for a 4-hour event. I'm proud of, what the event's become, but I think the only thing that if council was thinking of either scaling back or discontinuing, that we still consider putting money towards the firefighter challenge towards their fire coins. That's the only thing that I would recommend. But other than that, I get it. We need to make I've talked to Ali, we need to make some adjustments to the budget this year, and it's a council decision.
So from a practical point of view, Armour puts all of the effort into this, frankly, and there's not really a lot of payback for Armour specifically.
For our ratepayers.
However, Armour has a bigger view of things in terms of the Omegawan Highlands. What if we were to take some of this money and put it back into economic development, some of the money that was lost in economic development, and have it specifically targeted at community events where Perry, Strong, Sunbridge, Armour, who's ever in East, could actually start maybe having these events around the whole community, around the whole Omegawan Highlands. Maybe every 2 years we switch, we go from Perry, we go to Armour. I don't know what that looks like for economic development staff, but I would presume that our staff would still be involved to some degree, but it's more of an Omegawan Highlands. And if we're going to put, if we put $25,000 into something across the whole, across all the municipalities, it can be something that's fairly large, but it's also targeted every year and it's focused on the Omegawan Highlands. It's not, frankly, something that benefits Burkes Falls that somebody else is paying for.
That's fair. I just don't know what that would look like. I don't know how you like how does that, do you use a different fairground each year or whatnot? I'm not sure. Like if it were like Economic Development Day or, you know, like or Heritage Day sponsored by, I don't know. I think with very little thought, it would be great if we could see something at the KCC. It would still be Armour's, it would still be Heritage Day. It could just be a much smaller scale than what is.
I like that idea. I like the idea of Heritage Day because, I mean, it's nice that the municipality has got something. I like the idea of going to the Katrina Community Center. We would have to downscale it tremendously. But I do like the idea. I still think Heritage Day, everything grows. Like when you do something, I've always told everybody, don't give up the first couple of years. Give it a chance to work its way out. So I think there's been Heritage Day. It's gone from, like I say, just walk through the friggin' museum is how it started, if I'm not mistaken. And then it got to be a few people with exhibits. The firefighters were there. The police department, I think, were there on one occasion. I mean, there's no reason why we can't go back to what we had. I mean, the car show is a big draw, but it has really nothing to do with Heritage Day.
Some old car.
The old cars, but
we do the carnival, the winter carnival, which is really Heritage Day in the winter. Like it's a big fun event.
And just for some perspective for that, as far as parking and how the layout of the outside goes, we plow the portion of that field as much as we can, and we have to park cars on it because we don't have the room to park, and people are right down Brown's Drive and on both sides.
And there was also,
so that's just something to keep in mind as well.
There was also parking at the beach before, and then horses going back and forth because we ran out of overflow parking. So
I would like to get the input from the Historical Society as well before we make a final decision on anything here. I do think based on what Armour is spending on this event, plus the staff time involved, with no direct benefit to Armour. I mean, I shouldn't say no direct benefit. The community enjoys it, obviously, but it's a pretty big expense, and I think our budget is going to be a tough one this year. So, but before we make, let's do this or let's do that, I would really like some input from the Historical Society on what they want to see.
I like the idea of KCC. Instead of old cars, I would like to say bring an antique and set it up and win a prize. First, second, third, or
an antique.
Bring in Jerry.
I mean, no, but
Yeah.
something's different.
that's that still gives us the feel of the heritage part.
You got it.
It would take a lot less space.
A lot less space, and not only that, if you wanted, you could have a bus pick up and take over the heritage site there, go there, go over to the schoolhouse and back.
And the
You know?
KCC is a school, it was a school.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
heritage, like there is heritage to the KCC as well.
But I like the idea of somehow we got to connect them with the museum still.
Yeah.
Is this something, Melissa, where you think we would start to move away from the carnival and have one event as opposed to two?
Oh, I don't know.
The carnival can't go anywhere.
It'll
It's
be a
50
lot
years
of
of
upset.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
move
you-
away.
And the carnival is also a revenue generator.
Well, Diane has always said she would like to have summer Christmas.
Oh.
So maybe you could involve something like that.
The Heritage Day does generate money for like donations for the heritage, but the Katrine Carnival, it generates like a
Yeah.
revenue that goes into the KCC, right? So Armour is directly benefited by it.
The carnival's been going on since I've been on council. Like,
Well,
We're not
like,
counseling that.
Yeah, I don't.
Do some years, yes.
Nope.
When
That's
you
on
met
that.
with the Historical Society, did they, I know they're aware of this, and from my understanding, they were okay with whatever council decides.
What do you think, Barry?
But did they say anything?
Can I speak?
Of course.
Because I sit on the historical committee and I also sit on the, the building committee. So I hear what you're saying. I think it's a great idea to throw it back at the Historical Society and give us an opportunity to come up with some ideas. When you talk about, I personally, I like the idea of the museum idea. So I have to talk about Clearview. Clearview always had their small halls festival where they had 5 separate community halls and they had a festival every year and they had a different thing happening at each thing and you took a bus and you toured around, something to that effect. So I've had experience at that, so I know how it works. And I like the idea personally of, the heritage portion of it. And also there's been talk, because we need to put heat into the new red building, of putting money towards, we're not going to do the festival, putting money towards the heating unit that has to go into the red building, because we got a ton of artifacts to fill it up. And as you know, we went for a tour of the Simcoe County Museum and come back with tons of ideas and how to display things and stuff like that. So we're really trying to move ahead and get to the next vision and move ahead with the whole process.
And so that was essentially what we had discussed. Moreover, with the Facilities and Functions Committee, was the potential to access some of those dollars for that. The heating system is the top priority for the Watt Farm right now, because it is the thing that is, I think, causing a major concern for putting additional artifacts in the building. So there's a couple of things happening. I don't think the intention was to get into that discussion as to what that looks like now, because there's lots of information being gathered in terms of costing, whether there's funding available to help support those things. So we're working on gathering that info at this point, then kind of determining where council wants to go with the event side of things. So I think that the bigger concern was, if you're not going to do it, can we recapture some of that to put it towards getting that heating system to control the humidity in that red building? So there wasn't any discussion about what do we do with the event. Yeah, I guess is the most succinct I can make it. I'm not very good at succinct.
I like the idea of supporting the museum a bit more.
Yeah.
But I don't like that. I don't want to lose the idea of Heritage Day with the township.
Because if you have Heritage Day at KCC, and you involve everything, then I'm sure in the Winterfest you make money, so maybe that money could help museums out in that way through a donation thing. So there's lots to think about.
There's no extra, Jerry.
The fundraising from the Winter Carnival helps to cover their programs.
And
That's fine.
thank you.
But the summer portion is brand new.
You're looking for a new program?
Heritage Day has always been free to attend.
I know, and it could still be free.
Okay.
We could maybe charge for vendors.
They could buy a hot dog.
So I'm going to make a suggestion here. Because I really don't want to table another resolution.
Yeah.
So we have 4 options. And I think the second option is reasonable, and we could still go back to the Historical Society and ask for more ideas. Just read through the rest of these here. I'll read this in and you tell me what you think. The Council of the Township of Armour received the staff report regarding the Heritage Festival, and the council directs staff to refocus the Heritage Festival to better reflect a heritage-based mandate, including a direct connection to the Watt Century Farmhouse Museum and Armour Township heritage assets. And that staff be directed to explore alternative locations within Armour Township, revise programming, and a scale budget model for council's consideration prior to 2026 budget.
That
I'll move that.
would cover everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
thank goodness.
You just read it, so now we can do the, I'll move it.
You're right.
Sure.
Rod. Okay, any further discussion on that one? All those in favor?
But it's not.
You want to read the other three just for fun?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, thank you for the discussion. I think we kind of felt sense that after the last couple of years, there was going to have to be a scaling back, given all the effort. So
Yeah.
thanks for doing all that work,
Well,
Melissa and Allison.
You're welcome.
and you too, Shar.
Okay. Back on track, and we're through our delegations on to accounts for approval. Council Township of Armour approved the February 2026 accounts in the amount of $626,441.29 for payment, and the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign check for same.
Sure.
Seconder, Dorothy. Any questions on this one?
I had my question answered on it, so.
Yeah, me too. I had to come in today. Allison answered them.
Yes, she did.
Okay, all those in favor? You pay the bills. Oops. 8A. This is just for an amendment to the subdivision on Deer Lake. We discussed this in our last meeting, and it was removal of one of the conditions that can't realistically be met because M&R no longer does these kinds of studies for different lots. Council Township of Armour accept the application for a zoning bylaw amendment under subdivision file S01-24 submitted by our apprentice, part lot 23, concessions 1 and 2, described as 233 Cherry Hill Road, and request the municipal planner proceed with drafting the zoning bylaw amendment. Jarrett.
Sure.
And Rod. Any other questions about this one?
I'm trying to read the information under the proposed zoning. The type I can read, Lakeshore Residential with an exception to reduce the frontage on lots 1 to 5 to 61. But I'm having trouble reading the rest of that. To request a 30-meter setback on Deer Lake and wetlands and a 15-meter setback. Is this something new?
No, this was, so they're in the original plan. There's a 15-meter setback from all other water courses on the property.
Okay.
So if there's any like little creeks or anything. Prohibits development in the type 1 fish habitat and places a holding symbol on lot.
Was that not already a condition of the subdivision?
Yeah, I'm not sure why this was in here.
Okay.
Part.
That's what it was.
That is a condition, that's definitely a condition.
That was confusing.
That hasn't changed.
Okay. Because I thought that was already in as a condition.
Yeah, so the only condition that was removed was that M&R would do
Right.
come on site and basically do a deer wintering study, and they said,
Yeah.
we don't.
So as long as this isn't removing that condition, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. An easy one. Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 9-2026 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at January 2026 meetings, and that we authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of the corporation there too.
Oh, darn. Totally got me.
Pretty quick for an old guy, Jerry.
Yeah.
Mary, and then I got Dorothy.
Poor Wendy. Wendy was first.
Wendy on the next one.
She was first.
I looked this way.
I know.
Sorry. All those in favor?
I'll keep my hand down from now on.
Um, this must be later on, is it, Dave? This one.
Reference plan. Oh, yes, that's fire hall.
Oh, yeah. Here's the next one up. Okay. Council of Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 10-2026 being a bylaw to authorize the transfer of part of lot 5, concession 7 being part 1 on reference plan 42R-22866 into joint ownership by the Township of Armour, Village of Berks Falls, and Township of Ryerson, and to provide for reimbursement to the Township of Armour in accordance with the interim fire services agreement. And we authorize mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and fix the seal of corporation there too.
I'll move that.
Gotta get Wendy on.
Sure.
So this is just to align with our percentages
So do they like,
in ownership.
the other municipalities, do they like give us a check before they're on title, or like just like a sale would normally be?
Yeah, it's all going through, like it's all gone, basically our legal team has advised us not to proceed with
Okay.
the sale of it. Again, we already own it, so
Yeah.
once we get that back, then their names will be registered on title.
Because there's our, okay, thank you.
Well, 20 years down the road, what is the ownership gonna look like? Is that gonna change year by year, or is it always gonna be?
Per the agreement, it states exactly like what you've got there, like with our what's in our agreement, our cost share. So unless the agreement changes, it stays exactly.
No, but I'm talking. The collateral right now is this amount.
Ownership percentage.
The ownership percentage is that. 20 years down the road, the ownership percentage might be different, but the cash outlay at the beginning is not, may not be the same.
I think the ownership percentage will always stay the same. The amount, like the cost per year might change. Operational costs might change, right?
That's not just what I heard though.
So at this point, the new build and the land, these are the percentages we're each paying towards that.
That's right.
So our Armour total ownership would be 47.8.
I get that, but 20 years down the road, that building is worth a certain amount of money. And this percentage won't be that.
Our ownership will continue to be 47%.
Okay.
Ownership will scale with the value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was
So
worth
are you concerned?
In the olden days, it was a third, and like the arena, for instance, everybody owns a third.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter when, that cash amount of money is a third.
Do we own a third of the arena, or do we own zero of the arena?
We pay a third. We don't own a third.
Yeah, and we don't own any of the library. We don't own any of the fire hall, the current fire hall, but we will always own 47.84% of this new fire hall.
Okay.
Right? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So
I was reading it wrong.
This whole process is to correct the legacy issue
Okay.
of other assets, other shared service assets.
Just when I first read that, I was thinking it's going to change.
And the committee has discussed that for any new major assets, whether it's a new library, new arena, new any of those things, it'll all be done in the same model.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then.
We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carries. Next up, we are into reports. Do we need a break or do we keep plugging along here? Get through reports at least. we have the planning report up. Charlene, I'm not sure if there's anything on here you want us to take note of.
I've got to ask for you to unmute every time. For some reason, some folks can unmute and others can't. It's the weirdest thing. And Charlene did let me know that depending on where she's at, she may be away from the so if we need to, we can come back.
Okay, I'll come back to it.
I'm back now. Sorry, I missed it though.
It was just the planning report, Sharp.
For what?
We're sure. Just checking to see if there's anything you want us to take note of in the planning report. We're just going through reports now.
Oh, no.
Okay. Next up, we have the planning board report. So the amended conditions on the press application did come through the planning board last week. So that's all done now. The other thing that I believe is in here is the resolution that Kearney had asked to be removed from the planning board. We respectfully ask that they think about it and not leave us. So we asked them to basically reconsider, and I think things have improved, but we're happy to work with them if there's other things we can be doing. So that's the way we left it. They wanted a resolution saying we supported them leaving, and quite honestly, we didn't support them leaving. So we wanted them to stay. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. Even if they get MMH approval, I presume it's going to take some time, likely into the next term of council.
Well, maybe they'll reconsider by then.
Maybe.
See the benefit.
Yeah, maybe. That was it from planning board. KCC report. Guess it's over to Melissa.
Yeah, so you guys obviously have it.
Yeah.
And it is just a staff request for the bartending services for Carnival every year thing. And then, so is there any questions on that?
So we have the resolution to extend the liquor license for
This Sunday, yeah.
during the Sunday, right? Okay.
Tonight.
So I'll read that, and then if we have any other questions for Melissa. Council Township of Armour approves the extension of the liquor license for the KCC to begin at 9 a.m. on Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. November, Wendy.
Sure.
Wow.
I'm going to be serving the liquor, so I feel like I should be like, yes.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. It's our annual tradition.
What a great tradition to have, isn't it?
So everything else, Melissa, like in terms of the carnival planning and that, everything's on target?
Yep, things have not fallen apart in Danica's absence. It's a lovely thing. She'll be very happy with that when she returns, I'm sure. And then we just have the potential rebranding of the cases.
Saw that.
So, anyone has any questions for me on that?
I have a resolution for that one.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
It's so funny because I'm like, oh, we need change. It's okay. It's fine. And this idea, I'm like, oh, we are the KCC. Like, not what? I understand the issue.
Yeah.
I think during the meeting, somebody highlighted that people have shown up at Katrine Community Center for events taking place at the Kearney Community Center, or shown up in Kearney looking for the Katrine.
Most recently, we actually had a contractor show up, and he said, I'm here to do your exit lights. And they said, oh, I don't think we had you coming to do that. And then he went back and looked at, oh, I just saw KCC. I'm actually supposed to go to Kearney.
Oh.
So it's become a big thing on social media as well. They've very much branded KCC, KCC, KCC. We used to, but we actually kind of drew back from it because it was becoming so confusing.
Could we recommend to them that the Kearney Community Hub would be a great name?
Yes. So we had, yeah, that was our potential for change would be Katrina Community Hub.
Mayor's flip a coin.
Oh, or arm wrestle.
Armour, Katrina Community Club.
So I do like the idea of hub because it's somebody during this meeting suggested that it's not just a community center. It is a community hub. There's a lot of events that are taking place. It's not simply what historically a community center would look like. That said, a community hub feels like maybe like a trending term. So I'm not sure that that's what we want to identify as.
We still have to get a sign up that actually says Katrina Community Center on the Katrina Community Center.
We probably should pump the brakes until we know what it's going to be called.
Why don't we just spell it out? K-A-T.
Oh, it could be an acronym. The Katrina Armour. Hey, you're onto something. The Katrina Armour Recreation. This could really work. So let's.
That definitely was.
So we've got the Katrina Armour. Something that starts with a T. Recreation. Katrina could be the acronym for our new building.
I have a feeling this resolution is going to get shot down.
I don't like the word hub.
So I'm going to read it in, Jerry, and then we can decide. The Township of Armour directs staff to proceed with rebranding the Katrina Community Center as the Katrina Community Hub to strengthen the facility's identity and improve clarity in advertising communication and community engagement. We need a mover and a seconder to get her on the table.
I'll move it. Sure. And I'll vote a recorded vote against it. And I would like to say, if we're going to rebrand, it should be done with the community's input so that we can pick what the community wants. Just my thoughts.
That makes sense.
What Jerry said.
But Jerry,
The recorded vote.
Jerry, you want a recorded vote?
So we're in the process of doing a rebranding exercise. So I think we should
Incorporate into that.
in that exercise.
We've discussed the process of rebranding.
Sometimes these things move slowly.
Sometimes they take time.
Right. So look, we better take our votes on this. All those in favor of rebranding, all those opposed. Do we need a recorded vote, Jerry?
Yeah.
All right. Jerry. All opposed. Okay, it's unanimous.
Sorry.
I hope the name wasn't your idea, Melissa.
Back from the.
I don't. Do we have any other questions for Melissa while she's here?
I do think we have to address the fact that we have two communities very close together with the same name.
Yes.
But
So if somebody's got a pulling Carney and you want to convince them to change,
Yeah.
Maybe
we were here first.
we should, how you say, one time somebody took Almaguin and we couldn't do it on the web.
Oh, you're on trademark it.
Trademark it?
Trademark.
So if we trademark KCC,
ACC, that's
first thing you're doing.
don't you dare put that in. Jerry said.
We'll all get KCC tattoos.
You should all post the recording until the next meeting.
I was joking when I said that.
So at least once in every meeting where we have to clarify that joke.
Yeah.
Next up in reports, we have the Tri-Council Informal Subcommittee meeting. That's item number 14. So I guess Dave and Wendy, were you guys both at that one?
Sure. So you've got the minutes in front of you. We spent a fair amount of time looking at the terms of reference and making sure we were comfortable with everything that's there. And then we'd like to see those supported by each of the councils so that when we take it to the Tri-Council meeting at the end of February, we have a consensus that everybody is happy with these terms of reference. This just sets out, what we feel that our goal is and what we're trying to get accomplished, and make sure that all members of council are aware of what we're trying to accomplish here. So the terms of reference are included in your agenda. We also reviewed the report on the rent increase for the library. So that report was provided by the Village of Brooks Falls. It's included in your agenda as well. It gives some background. It gives some capital expense requirements for the building at 39 Copeland Street, and just some of the work that's going to have to be done in the next 5 to 10 years. A lot of this discussion was based around the fact that, okay, this building is owned by the Village of Brooks Falls. The tenants are the library as well as the seniors. And we know we're heading to a new library build at some point. Now, that's definitely not before 2030 and could be slightly after 2030. So there is no consensus amongst the partners, being Armour and Ryerson, that we're ready to become a partner in the building that's currently owned by the Village of Brooks Falls. That's not where the discussion was going. It was more a matter of, we're trying to explain to you why the rent wasn't maintaining even a portion of the cost to maintain this building.
Do they have what is that account called?
Reserve
For these expenses?
They do. They do have some reserves. They weren't specific as to the dollar value in those reserves.
They had reserves for public facilities, but not one specifically established for the library.
So we, as a contributing member, are putting money in a pot that is for all of their buildings.
No,
I wouldn't say.
if you're putting money into a pot to pay for the library to pay their rent.
But you said the reserve was not just for the library, the reserve was for public buildings.
For Brooks Falls.
From what we gathered from the conversation.
Yeah. So then our rent money, in addition to what their operating expenses are, is going into a reserve for public buildings in Brooks Falls, not just the library.
No, I disagree with that.
That was just Armour's reserves in Armour Township.
We don't need a reserve. Brooks Falls has a reserve.
So maybe if I can provide some clarification, the whole purpose of raising the rent on the facility was to help offset the costs that have already been paid out by Brooks Falls to maintain that facility that it was paid for by the Village of Brooks Falls. So whenever something happens in the library, it's
already been paid for.
They don't take it out of the reserve that they've created, because they would have to draw those reserves from what the library is. From the rent from the library, right? The whole point of the increase was that they're not making enough from the rent of the library to cover the costs of the building. And anytime there is a significant expense, whether it be heating or anything else specific to the library, that comes out of the Brooks Falls coffers, not the three communities that pay.
So just I've been on the library for 30 years. I know there has not been a lot of expense on that building in 30 years. The library staff had to buy their own friggin' air conditioner. The expense that the Brooks Falls has put in, they put a new roof on that building. That benefit that anybody that owns a building has got maintenance to put into it. That's part of owning a building. They've updated the furnace and the air exchanger in the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 10 years because it comes quick. But I am adamant there has not been a lot of money spent on that building that they could say they have been paying out of pocket.
Well, and anything that they do anything they do to that building is being paid for by the ratepayers of the Village of Brooks Falls.
That's right, but the 3%, we agreed to the 3% increase 15 years ago would cover the extra costs of
And
running that library.
Berks Falls is saying it's not covering those costs. And they just want us to be aware that it's not covering the costs.
And I think like Dorothy, I would like to see the costs that they're concerned with, because I've been on the library board and they don't spend the money.
And so it's bothersome to me that it's $5 was $5 per square foot. Commercial space exceeds $20. It's not commercial space. That is not commercial space. That's a community resource. It's not commercial.
That's right.
Not a profit-making building.
Exactly.
So $20 per square foot is for a revenue-generating facility. That is a community space.
It is, and they're acknowledging that.
And the upstairs is not paying $20 per square feet. The seniors are not paying $20 per square feet for a commercial space. They did not get the rent increase we all share this expense for this building. The roof went on the seniors building as much as it went on the library.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So why are the seniors not getting a increase like we're seeing?
I don't believe the increase. Originally, the increase, it had nothing to do with, they never ever said that it was due to the cost of the building. It was the explanation in the beginning was based on other municipalities. This is the rent that they pay.
They surveyed other libraries in our area to see what rental was being charged.
Right.
So yes, they did that. The reference to commercial to me is not correct, because it is, you're right, it's not a commercial building. That building is to be used by the community, but it's owned by the Village of Berks. And it's used by other people from Armour, from Ryerson, as a community-based building, and that the seniors is a community-based organization. So, how can I say?
So Chris Hope said that his first year as mayor, he said, we're going to look at all of our spaces because we feel that the rate being charged is too low per square foot.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that's absurd? And there are libraries within our 10 municipalities that pay $0. The municipalities, they're owned by one, there's $0 are paid for rent. Why is that not part of the equation? I understand that we're three people. I understand we have to cover expenses.
It's probably owned by one municipality, and the library is one municipal library.
Why don't we pay rent for the arena?
Why don't we pay $0 rent? And when a new roof is needed, just like the medical building, they come to all the municipalities that use it and say, we need you to throw in for this.
Yeah, that's the question I would have, because first of all, they didn't buy that building.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no upfront expense. So you can't really come back and claim $20 per square foot, because that's what you do as a money-making venture.
Right.
You buy a $500,000 building and you try to make the money back. It would be clear to us if they each year had a plan that said, okay, next year we need a new roof. It's $35,000. Here's your percentage. And
100%.
This is what we need from.
That's exactly what they do with the arena.
And the fire hall. Oh no, we pay rent for the fire hall, don't we?
Just for the office space, I think.
Okay.
The office space. But the arena is owned by all of us, is it not?
We're not on the deed, I don't believe.
No, we don't own it.
I thought Berks Falls owned the land and we all owned the building.
I believe so.
Yes, so that's our building. So we have to maintain it. I think you can't compare.
Yes.
Comparing apples to apples.
But we don't own the medical building, and we are asked every single year for money towards their deficit, their operating deficit.
I just got the 2024 and 2025 today.
So why in the world are we getting 2024s and 2026? But regardless of that, if you would like us to help you maintain your building for the hospital, absolutely ask. If you would like us to help you maintain your building for the library, absolutely ask. Stop asking for rent then.
I'd rather have a rent increase than be asked to contribute to the new roof on the library building that we don't own. It's not our asset. I think it's reasonable to have reasonable rent for our community to have a library. If we decide we don't want the library there, try and find another facility you're going to put a library in for less money than that rent is going to be.
Fair.
At one time, all three municipalities agreed 3%
But
was inadequate enough.
talking history, Roger,
No, I
not
know.
talking today's expenses. Everything we're looking at is increasing. So I think we have to be reasonable when our partner
But I
says,
mean, if
this is a community building, we're all contributing to the library, we need more money in rent. I wish they had said, we need 6% this year, 6% this year, 6% this year. They didn't do that, but we can't.
So
It's their funds.
just look at your capital expenses on 39 Copeland area. The asset management plan they just provided, $381,500 in the next 10 years.
Yep.
That we don't own any of.
They're not asking us to pay that. They're just telling us what their costs are and why they need a little more money in rent to make things work.
And
I think if they had approached it in a little different format.
I don't disagree with that.
They came up with 25%. I mean, I'm stuck on what we have, but it was like the history of the conversation was, like Dorothy just said, rhyme or reason, we're going to up our rent. And they label the library as a commercial venture. It's like, it's not. It's not supposed to be like a money-making venture. It's a community.
But I can put that aside and read this and understand why they need an increase in the rent.
But they need to increase upstairs then too. Increase ours less, increase theirs a little bit. Meet in the middle.
So where does the seniors have access to funds? Where do they get their money from?
They don't. That's why they my understanding, they virtually pay hardly anything in rent.
The big reason
Because they're a community-based
when they got the government money through the grant, it was labeled as senior library. That's how they got the money.
Right.
And Burks Falls, Armour, and Ryerson went together in order to get the money. That's how it was done.
I do believe I was recently told in the last couple of weeks that the upstairs was never supposed to be part of our library. It was always the way the grants were written. It was half seniors, half library, always.
That's right.
So fair enough, but the building was $0. So if we're now paying extra rent, we need, but it's not our money to manage. Yeah, so.
It's not.
I have a problem.
And it may not have been our money. It wasn't managed very well, and this is what we have.
I just struggle with, hey, this has a value to us. We're going to make you pay, because where else are you going to go?
Is when we have a new build, and we own whatever we own, and we contribute to that, and we have input into the decisions and the budget. This we do not. This, for a tenant asked to pay a rent increase.
And I think it's ludicrous to ask for 25% of an increase.
So if our council feels strongly, and I don't know how Ryerson's going to feel, then we say we don't want to pay 25%. We want to pay something less than that this year. That's an option.
It just comes up at budget time when we go through the budget.
Yeah, that's an option. But I do appreciate the time and effort that went into this report to tell us the situation that they have.
It was evident in the meeting that the substance of the conversation that was had at the last tri-council was earnestly reviewed by staff with some information tried to put forward. I think that from a planning perspective, you can't put money into reserves if you're running either revenue neutral or you're running in a deficit. So in order to pay for some of those things, you need to cover those costs in advance, which to me, the rent increase makes some sense if you're taking that level of control that you would need. The rest of the history complicates things for sure, but
I would, so when the tri-council meeting, when this goes further, I would like to see where their increase gets put towards the building. Cut and dry. Because I've been there. They do not put any money into it. When the library board said they needed an air conditioner, the Friends of the Library had to fundraise to get an air conditioner.
I would just love for them to walk into the Copeland Street tenants and say, hey, we have $381,000 worth of work to be done. Your rent is going up 25%. Why don't they? Because they'll leave. It's pretty manipulating.
Presumably, they're going to be following this asset management plan.
The asset management plan is something that we talked about and started in 22, I believe, and it hasn't been maintained. So certain of the shared service budgets include a capital plan, usually with their budget annually, that gives us a 5-year window. The subcommittee is suggesting that we need to get those documents back out, get them updated and current, and we should be looking at a 10-year plan. So that when we collectively look at our budgets, we can say, okay, the fire is going to need this in the next 10 years. The landfill is going to need this in the 10 years. Because we're not always going to be in sync, but at least if we've got a 10-year plan, we can attempt to line up our priorities such that.
Well, it helps with planning. If you need major assets in 2 or 3 different shared services, you're not spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a new packer the same year that, the whole refrigeration unit, the fire tank needs to be replaced. It kind of helps chart that out a little bit. It was, again, as Wendy mentioned, it was brought up in 2022. There was a document created. There was some shifting in staffing in various municipalities, and it kind of fell by the wayside. But my understanding now is that Braden Robinson has stepped forward to create shared services asset plan. So he'll be working on that over the next little bit. We'll have something to look at for next budget season.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Wendy, we got kind of off track.
That's okay. Sorry, Wendy,
That's what's going to be in the.
I completely agree with you. It's not our decision to make. We are given a bill. We need to pay our bill.
And we can't really do anything about what's been managed and what hasn't been managed with our partners. Like, we can only control what we can control. But I do feel that our request for more information and better information from the staff level at the Burkes Falls office, they heard us and
that's respectful. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, and as far as your other comment, Rod, I'll just at the top paragraph on page 2 of the minutes. The various internal processes in the village have been created or modified to improve reporting related to the library building assets, which will improve transparency going forward. So I think the idea there, and then it was noted at the meeting that we have partners that are contributing to the service that is the tenant in this building, and we want to make sure that the information that's available, that the information that we have in the building will be made available to the partner. So investments moving forward, you had mentioned that I'd like to see those expenses for those things. I think moving forward, those lines will become a little bit clearer so that they can report on that.
I think they have quite a bit of work to do internally to be able to provide us with more information. They have a lot of things we're lumped together. So the reporting is going to be better, and they can answer those questions when we ask them.
From the library board's perspective, we don't care if the rent goes up. Doesn't come out of our pocket. It's just, it just gets flipped into the budget. But from Armour's perspective, I question why it went up.
Yeah.
It's just a fairness. Is this fair to our ratepayers? Is this fair to your tri members?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I may, the one last piece, the water wastewater system. So it was asked of partners to go back to councils and discuss whether or not there is an interest in setting out on the planning process for the water wastewater system. And I know it's been discussed at council a number of times. It's a fairly expensive report that has to be produced. They're putting wheels in motion over the next year to start moving towards that study, because we have water wastewater services coming into Armour and have expressed interest in enhanced water wastewater services as far as the 520 park up to the up past Loft House and down in this area. I know in the past we had a budget figure to support enhancements to the system. So what Charlene pulled was a resolution passed in October of 2021, which you see here that speaks to us, this council at the time.
Yeah.
So we didn't think there was a need to pass a new resolution, because there was a resolution passed unless council decided that their interest had changed.
Well, yeah, unless council feels they're no longer interested in
I think it needs to be done.
it needs to be done.
Absolutely.
My only concern with doing more studies is to what end? We did studies for the library that's now in limbo. And I understand these are two very different things. Water and the library are very different. But I'm hoping that our money is actually applied and that work is done after the study is done.
Yeah, there's a major challenge, I think, from what I understand of it, is that you need to have the water system studies to determine your capacity, the age of your infrastructure, everything else, what expansion could be looked at and what you have to do to create that expansion opportunity. And you can't get any funds for infrastructure improvements or enhancements until you have the study done. And the study has, again, we've heard a number of numbers over the last few years, but somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million was the last number that I had heard
already
to do a full study of that system. So the idea here isn't that we're in for a penny, in for a pound. The idea is that we want to be at the table when there's some discussions happening, and we'll later determine at what level. So
At what level? Yeah.
so
Sounds like an economic development conversation.
Hopefully everybody's at the table.
Okay. Anything else from that report?
Good.
Anybody want to talk about the renaming of the KCC?
Who's up for
That's table.
I'm totally teasing.
He did.
And next up is the Health Council report. So I was not there last week. So Vicky was actually chair of the meeting, but there were a number of things that I wanted to get on the table. Thanks, Sarah, for your article on the X-ray. So there was a bit of noise around the lack of progress on the X-ray machine, but Cheryl Harrison from the hospital was at the meeting and directly said there's no issue with the X-ray. It's fine for however many more years, 2 or 3 more years. They have spare parts. They're not concerned. And it does not get anywhere near the usage that Bracebridge and Huntsville gets. And that's why it's going to last. So they fully intend to replace it and upgrade it. We just have to decide where it's going to go. Is it going to be Houston Street or is it going to be a new building? But Cheryl said there's no reason for concern. They have it covered, and if something happened, they'd cover the cost of getting anyone in there.
Very good.
The other thing that came up in the meeting was, we actually took a page from economic development. And one of the things we're finding, just stories like that one, where you have to kind of get ahead of it and you don't know where they come from, but you have to kind of say, well, why is there all this negative news when there's really nothing negative going on? We're going to try and get an infographic out, the same one that economic development has, on maybe a quarterly basis. It says, here are the things we've done. Because we realize that a lot of stuff has happened in the past, especially in the past 4 or 5 years around healthcare, that it's been reported once, but then everybody forgets that it's happened. And we're in a much better place than we were. And right down to the wait times for people getting doctors up here is much, much better than it is in Muskoka. Muskoka's going through hell right now because they've lost so many doctors. So people read the news and they just assume that there's problems everywhere. But I think this area in particular has done a stellar job we were way behind, but we're now starting to inch ahead. So I think we need to report that. So we will start doing that.
I just had a vision. I can see a whole bunch of puzzles with the healthcare in the middle of it, and you can put all the little
my puzzle pieces.
Yeah, puzzle pieces in there, right?
I think it's very
Link them all
necessary.
together.
You're absolutely right. We absolutely forget. Like I was just reminded that a year ago, not even, we were sitting around going like waiting to find out if the build was going to happen. Were we going to meet the share?
Yeah.
And now it just feels like history. It's not something. It was so.
On to the next.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's important to highlight.
Yeah. Other reports. Yeah. The other one. Oh, go ahead.
Pancake flippers for the carnival.
I've already volunteered.
Okay. I'm in. All right.
I think. Adam Wakefield from M&R, he's starting to produce his spring reports on the freshet and the melt off. So what did he say? Precipitation is 131% of normal for January, and snowpack is 149%. So way up. So
let's look at the flood.
We're ready for flooding. Yes.
Slow thaw.
Yeah.
So he'll give us reports every 2 weeks from here on in, but that's where we're at right now.
It might be a good idea to get our sandbags ready ahead of time.
We had to use the sand for the road, didn't you hear? There's a shortage.
Oh, they also said The guys are going out and digging in the pits.
Putting bags.
But
As ready as they've ever been at the bottom of our
but
stairs.
we don't want to be caught in
Yeah.
without sandbags.
Absolutely.
I think we have a good song.
Okay.
Okay, any other reports? Probably time for a break. So we'll do a break and then we'll do correspondence and new business. 8:59. Let's come back at 9:10. We can keep it moving.
Pause. And we are live.
Back, folks. Okay, we are going through correspondence and then we have 3 items of new business. Couple of resolutions on the way, and Charlene dropped these on me and then dropped off the call because these resolutions are about half an hour long each, I think. So if I start to lose my voice, you'll know why. Item 15 is around the Life Labs closure up in Sudbury. Just in case anybody asks, the one here is Dynacare. It's not Life Labs or Berks Falls. But this was a bit of a shock to the folks up in Sudbury, I think. Whereas Life Labs has announced its intention to close its Greater Sudbury Laboratory and transfer medical specimen processing from Northern Ontario to labs in Southern Ontario, and whereas the Greater North Sudbury lab provides essential diagnostic services to communities across Northern Ontario, including urban, rural, and remote municipalities, plays a critical role in ensuring timely and reliable medical testing for Northern residents. And whereas patients with chronic illness, newborns, long-term care residents, and individuals on time-sensitive medications depend on predictable laboratory turnaround times to support clinical decision-making. And whereas transporting medical specimens long distances to Southern Ontario increases the risk of delays, specimen degradation, and retesting, particularly during frequent winter, highway closures, potentially jeopardizing patient outcomes. And whereas Northern Ontario is already experiencing shortages of healthcare professionals, and the closure of lab further undermines regional workforce stability, training capacity, and recruitment. Therefore, be it resolved, the Township of Armour calls on the Province of Ontario and Ministry of Health to take immediate action to ensure that essential medical laboratory services remain accessible within Northern Ontario, including maintaining laboratory processing capacity in Greater Sudbury. Be it further resolved that the province be urged to ensure reliable, timely, and medically appropriate laboratory turnaround times in Northern Ontario for Northern Ontario residents, recognizing the unique geographic and climatic challenges of the region. Be it further resolved that the province be requested to protect and support the Northern Ontario healthcare workforce, including medical lab technologists, by preventing further services centralization that disproportionately impacts northern communities. Let me get a mover.
And be it further resolved.
You would point that out. That copies of those resolutions be forwarded to the Minister of Health, local members of Parliament, Bonham, Amo, and Roma. Got Dorothy.
This is terrifying. It's going to increase the hospital stays in Southern Ontario. Right?
No, it's gonna take away from Northern Ontario.
But so when my son was ill, they were taking his blood and an hour later responding to what he needed.
Yeah.
They can't do that with the blood. They're gonna have to move the person to where the blood can be tested.
Yeah, or have to wait or whatever. Yeah.
But like if they're needing immediate response about what's happening,
yeah. Yeah, it was a big lab too, 200 people. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried. The next one for 16. The next resolution is for item 16. Whereas prescription drug diversion, particularly involving regulated opioids and other controlled medications, presents a serious and growing risk to public health, community safety, and vulnerable populations across Ontario, including northern and rural municipalities. Whereas evidence from law enforcement, health professionals, and community drug strategy partners demonstrates that diverted prescription medications are contributing to substance misuse, criminal activity and increased strain on health, social, and enforcement systems throughout Northern Ontario. Whereas the partnership and collaboration project, The Birth of Change, written by the North Bay Police Services and Community Drug Strategy of North Bay and area, brings together law enforcement, addiction, medical specialists, pharmacists, public health partners, and community organizations to address prescription diversion through a collaborative, evidence-based, and multi-sector approach. And whereas the project identifies practical regulatory, prescribing, dispensing, and prevention measures intended to reduce diversion while maintaining appropriate access to medically necessary pain management and addiction treatment services, and whereas municipalities across Northern Ontario are experiencing the downstream impacts of prescription diversion, including pressures on emergency services, policing, housing, stability, and community well-being. Therefore, be it resolved, the Township of Armour formally supports the partnership and collaboration project, The Birth of Change, and its objectives to reduce prescription drug diversion through coordinated evidence-based action. Further, be it resolved that Township of Armour calls on the province of Ontario, including the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, to review and give serious consideration to the project's recommendations, including regulatory, prescribing, dispensing, and prevention strategies aimed at mitigating prescription diversion while protecting patient care. Be it further resolved that Township of Armour encourages continued provincial engagement with municipalities, law enforcement, health professionals, pharmacists, and community partners to ensure that solutions are practical and regionally appropriate and responsive to the realities of Northern Ontario. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Health, Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, Sergeant Brad Room, Northern Ontario members of Parliament, Noma, AMO, and Roma. Sure. Am I missing in that one, Jay?
Yep.
Seconded, Dorothy. All those in favor? Okay. I think that's it for the long ones. Council of Township of Armour supports the town of Fort Francis and calls upon the province of Ontario to establish an Ontario Airport Capital Assistance Program, ensure eligibility for a broad range of capital projects, engage municipalities in program design, and recognize the essential role of airports in medevac and emergency services, especially in remote and northern communities. This is item 17. You get a mover?
Sure.
Rod.
Sure.
Jerry. All those in favor? That's carried. For 18, Township of Armour supports the resolution of the Village of Sundridge urging the province of Ontario to work collaboratively with municipalities, industry, insurers, and environmental stakeholders to establish a limited liability framework for snow and ice management, supported by provincially endorsed best management practices and enforceable training and certification requirements. To establish and fund an expert advisory committee to assist municipalities in reducing salt use and protecting freshwater ecosystems and drinking water sources. 3, collaborate with municipalities on data sharing, chlorine monitoring, and salt reduction initiatives, particularly within environmentally sensitive communities and watersheds. Mover. Silence.
I have issues with this one, hold up.
Do you want to?
I understand what you're trying to say. But my understanding is that if there's a recommendation for the salt mixture with the sand, and anything over a certain percentage of salt requires a salt management plan by a municipality. And I think most of the municipalities in our area keep their threshold below that, so they don't have to have an involved salt management plan.
Yeah. Because
at the end of the day, the percentage of salt that's used with our sand is quite small.
It's so
now,
low.
the impact over time is could very well be significant, I guess, but I don't know.
There's going to be a cost associated with this.
I would think there would be a cost associated with this.
I think the biggest problem is they're talking road salt because they're talking probably 11, basically.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm not sure that we should be asking them to reduce the salt on Highway 11, considering the accidents that we're already incurring this year.
A week ago, there was 5 accidents when I went south.
Today there was an 8-car pileup on Highway 11.
Yeah.
Up into a creek, closed both lanes down.
Yeah. And then another one behind it.
Oh, is that
They
right?
were like slowing to it. Another one occurred.
And right now you got a road salt. Other than that, what are you gonna use? Because people don't slow down.
Well, they do have the liquid de-icer that they use, but I don't know temperatures or whatnot. I don't know how they differ. I don't know anything about roads.
Well, we can move this and second it and then defeat it
Sure.
if we're concerned with it. Jerry? Seconder?
Sure.
Vote in favor. Opposed? Okay, down she goes.
It's okay to shoot something down, but you gotta have something to go to.
Right.
I don't know whether beet juice will do it.
Beet
I think
juice?
they tried that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, last, but just the last one. So this is actually number 19 is the resolution from the Southeast Parry Sound Planning Board that I was talking about earlier. We're encouraging Kearney to stay. Council Township of Armour supports the Southeast Parry Sound District Planning Board and respectfully requests that the town of Kearney withdraw the request to cease its partnership with the Southeast Parry Sound District Planning Board and work with the other members to address their concerns and implement further improvements.
Sure.
Jerry. Seconder. Wendy. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Rest is reading material, I believe. Up to item 7. Ryerson's going through an official plan amendment. Or an update to the official plan, I should say. Okay, and we're on to item 27, North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit. This is our 2026 municipal levy. I saw what was the increase on this one percentage? What I thought I saw.
1%.
No,
I think it was 4 or something. I was estimating it at 3, but it was higher than that.
Everything's coming in higher this year, it seems.
Yes.
Okay, and number 28, staff report, general office administrator. Dave, I guess this one's over to you.
Yep. So most everything is in the report. I tried to condense everything down. There are a couple of schedules from our employment policy that I've included just so you can see some of the updates. So the two things that are being discussed here is the creation of the the office administrator position. So we met with various department heads to discuss what replacing a front office staff member would look like in a way that would serve all of the departments that require some additional support. So you will see that in the position description I left you a copy of on the table, which has been updated with the first page as well as some feedback with regards to a confidentiality clause, which you would see executed, I believe, on page 3. As pointed in the new point 7. So with that in mind, I think the generalized nature of the position allows us to not have there was a couple of specialized roles up front, and at times when workloads in both departments were high, it did create a little bit of confusion as to kind of who's doing what and what takes priority over others. Also, I think a fairly significant training load for one of the staff members would provide a bit of extra time if that training was spread out over a longer period. So the office administrator role, I think, was a balanced approach to not just an administrative position type of role, which administrative assistant position role, which is what we've had previously. So I think the desire with this office administrator role is to have an individual who is more specialized in municipal functions, but also dedicated to support both the front office departments that require the help. So the senior leadership in the building felt that this would be a great way to cover those bases and may further lead to specialization over time. But we'll get the main foundational elements of the required services trained in first and work on specialization moving forward. And then the realignment of the organizational chart is really a continuation of discussions we had in 2025 to bring the remaining departments under and department heads under the CAO versus having them under other department heads. So kind of realigning that structure to be consistent with what council had discussed. And I think it makes it easier for all department heads reporting into one source. So those are the Coles notes. In terms of next steps for the position, once we finish that, then staff have internally reviewed the position against our evaluation framework, but we will need to get on a very quick call or meeting with the employment committee just to finalize the evaluation and see if there's any changes, and then we can get this out and get it circulated.
Thanks, Dave. So we have a resolution for this one. If you have any questions for Dave. Staff report from the CAO dated February 10th, 2026 be received in the Council of Township of Armour. Approve the job creation and description for the office administrator position. Direct staff to forward the position description to the employment committee for evaluation. Furthermore, the council directs staff to implement the changes to Schedule A and G of the municipal employment policy. Get a mover. Committee. Seconder. Rod. Okay, any questions for Dave on this one? All those in favor? And that is carried.
Just as a note for anybody looking through the salary grid portion, Wendy and I had a conversation, and Allison and I have had conversations. We're going to clean that up. There's a lot of positions that have been made redundant. Under old administration, it was, or I guess our most recent previous, it was the idea to keep them all in just in case we need to go back. But we can move those to a schedule that's not part of the generalized policy, and we're not losing any of the files, position descriptions, evaluations, any of that. We can just kind of pull them.
Just separate it.
Yeah, it becomes a bit confusing.
Here's where we are and here's what we have. It's too hard to read. Yeah, we don't need all those in.
Great. Confusing.
Also, I'm limited on characters, so sometimes when I have little brackets, I have to realign the whole chart. It's frustrating. Thank you, Microsoft. Yeah, colored pencils.
Have you ever done that where it says you can put an A to Z or whatever? You do it and it just doesn't go there?
Oh yeah, like when you try to move a picture and all of a sudden your document ends up in some other country somewhere. It's a fun time.
Okay. Last but not least, we have our notice from Powerbank that they will be appealing our decision from January 13th. Let's see the reasons here, but the basic reason that we rejected the proposal was based on this quote that they've actually included in their appeal. Council determined that the proposal does not adequately address public safety and hazard management, emergency response planning, emergency services capacity, firefighter training, infrastructure, and intermunicipal and cross-boundary impacts. The application was absent of finalized emergency response planning, firefighter training, and stormwater management documentation. So they've gone on to say why they are appealing. Not a big surprise that they're appealing. We haven't heard anything further, and I don't think we've had much in terms of follow-up from Charlene or from our planner at this stage.
Well, as I think, as you can expect, there's a lot of information that's been requested by the OLT that's being basically collected and reviewed by Charlene at this point. So I think the point of having on the agenda was just the council recognition that we have received this appeal and the public notice being pushed out. And we are walking through the steps right now to gather the information that's required to satiate the request from the OLT. We have engaged professional services to support our defense. And we are at this point, we're just walking through the process. It seems like we have been for quite some time, walking through the process.
If I remember correctly, did they not? I believe they didn't finish the archaeological.
There were
on the site either.
There were one or two of them that weren't complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that reason was not in here either.
Oh, the arc, yeah,
right?
You're right. Yeah.
That's not in there, and I believe the BAP also. They looked at one tree instead of looking at how it's properly done. They only did half the job.
Yeah.
So.
I don't even think that with the BAT study, it doesn't sound like they even did half the job. It sounds, I think what I heard was there was one microphone before we needed for a fulsome study.
Something like that. But
on that, and that was just isolated to just the bats, not any other animal, creature.
So the process, I mean, basically, we're going to have to replay the whole last 2 years in terms of paperwork and go through that whole process. So we weren't given any indication of timing or how far OLT may be behind on these things. So just informational at this stage, but we'll certainly keep you posted as we get more information. Sorry, you guys had to sit through the whole meeting.
Okay, I'm used to the long meeting, so it's like, it's hard to sit here and not put my hand up to vote, you know? Oh yeah, I'll move that. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions on that one? There's no resolution or anything for that. All right, Council Township of Armour adjourns this regular council meeting at 9:32. So the next regular council meeting is scheduled for February 24th, 2026, or at the call of the mayor of the clerk. Jerry.
And Wendy's here too. That's a late meeting.
Great. Maybe Stephanie that one now. All those in favor of leaving?
You want?
I not hear it.
No.
I'm not off.
No, that's okay. Thanks, Rod.
Danette offered to kill this here.
No other paper plate.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.